Hello, good evening, and welcome to Full Time Reds with me, Gav, and him, Keith. AC Milan 1, Liverpool 2 in the final group game in the Champions League for this season. Liverpool have made it 6 wins from 6, 18 points, easy peasy. In the group of death, Keith, in the group of death.
Yeah, the group of death for some, not for us. It was. It turned out to be very real thing, Gav, didn't it? I think not many expected it to go as easy and as smooth as it did, but they've made it look bleeding like they're willing to put this on their back and do a league run at the same time. Like this team, look, we looked at a team tonight, a dead rubber. Last season we had a dead rubber. All the fear of God was in everyone. It all came to pass because of the state we were in last season. This year, it was just getting boys into that team, giving them a chance to play. And I think we had a few good performances tonight. It was actually a good second string outing.
Yeah.
With a few bits of class dotted in there, in fairness.
Yeah, Alisson starts in goal, Nico Williams right back, Tsimikas left back, Kanate and Nat Phillips as centre back. He went with, interestingly enough, Morton, Minamino, Chamberlain midfield, and then he done Salah and Mane with Origi up top. But first thing I want to say is, for a team that needed a win to give themselves a chance of getting through in this group, what were AC Milan playing at? Or were we just that good?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Do you know, I think it has to be a bit of both because, you know, as you said, we touched on there, you know, a much changed team going in there with a lot of young lads playing, a lot of fringe players playing, and it's still AC Milan, it's still the San Siro, and it's still them needing to get points, them needing to get a result. Do you know what I mean? So I think we played well, and I think they, you know, they had a centre forward who's 40. Do you know what I mean? I'm not much older than 40, Gav. If I blade and bend down to pick up the remote control too fast, I can do me back in.
Yeah.
This fella's out there throwing overhead kicks, the bleeding state of him. Victor bleeding Meldrew going around. He thinks my mate on the ass as well. My missus was saying we had a bet that he dyes his hair and all that fella. But he's, you know, he's 40. At the end of the day, he's a bully. He's a bleeding 40-year-old.
He got bullied tonight.
He got bullied, he did, and that's we're going to come on to that. I thought there was some excellent standout performances in there.
There was, and like when you see that midfield, Randy Chase as first English team to win all the games in the group stages of the Champions League, another one for the record books, and
brilliant.
You know, like just going at that, Keith, like when we seen this group, we were like Atletico, tough, AC Milan, improving all the time. Porto, and Porto, like you're thinking, you know, we've seen Porto, we know what we're going to get there, but to come out of that group with 18 points, like you can't write it off, despite how poor AC Milan were, in my opinion, in the group. Porto or Porto, and we done Atletico and we needed to.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say we were lucky, you know. The Milan game at Anfield, I suppose we were 3-2, seems like it was tighter than. We battered them in that game, you know. They had a few minutes where they got a couple of goals. We switched off for 5 minutes. They got a couple of goals, and that was it. Other than that, absolute plain sailing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been made look so easy, and we've made that group look like it might as well have been, you know, a team from, no disrespect to a team from Bulgaria, a team from Romania, and a team from Finland. Do you know what I mean? We're playing good teams with good reputations, and I know Porto, we play them quite regularly and we usually stick it on them, but they're still a decent team. They've got decent players, and we've made them all look so average. And we've done it, you know, tonight we've done it with Tyler Morton playing, we've done it with Nat Phillips, we've done it with Nico Williams. Nico Williams, a player, comes in for a lot of stick from our own fan base, and he was excellent tonight. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was great to see these lads stepping up and putting in that type of performance where they didn't look intimidated and they didn't look scared. Because I joke about Zlatan there, but he is an intimidating character. Do you know, he's about 6'4", he's big, he's strong, he loves a fight, and he is a bully. You know what I mean? He's a flat track bully on a pitch, and these lads didn't. You know, Nat Phillips and Ibrahim Kanate. They're inexperienced, they're young, inexperienced centre backs in the grand scheme of things, and I thought they handled them easy peasy.
Yeah, there's 100 and plus watching, 38 likes. So hit the like button, because genuinely this is a show that I decided to do last week after people asked me, and I'll keep it going as much as I possibly can. So hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell icon so you never miss a show as well. But we're really, really enjoying this full-time stuff, and while we're winning, when we lose, Keith will try his best to get out of it, but but it's one of those. Just the start of the game, Keith, like, I just couldn't believe the lack of urgency from them. Like, every ball that was dropping in midfield, Liverpool were on it. They were passing it around the back. They were knocking it back to Alisson, no pressure. But I have to give credit to the midfield three. You know, before we look at the back four, and before we look at the forward players, I have to give credit, because it looked a bit unbalanced for me. You've got inexperience in Martin. You don't see an awful lot of Minamino in a midfield. Unless he comes in over chasing the game and he throws him in there and tries to make something happen.
As nearly a fourth, an attacking option, sort of.
Yeah, as a 10 nearly. And you had Oxlade-Chamberlain, who I thought was very, very good.
He was excellent.
Very good. Excellent. And he was the senior man in that midfield. And I thought the way they moved it, the way they switched it, got in around Milan, broke lines, running with the ball and without it. You know, I have to give credit to that midfield that started tonight, because I thought they were excellent.
They were excellent, Gav. And look, Minamino's come in for a bit of stick for the Milan goal, and fair enough. But other than that, I thought he was tidy. I thought he was trying to press. I thought he had a good intensity to his game. You know, quick feet, getting out of situations and moving it on. And he was the worst of the three. Do you know what I mean? And I thought he had a good game. Martin, I think, was the maturity of that lad.
Garmack wants to give us Tyler Martin some love. Kid was so comfortable tonight. He really was.
The thing about Tyler Martin is, you know, you see young players that can come into a team, and especially a team like Liverpool and a high-intensity team like that, and you're playing in the Champions League against the Milan. As we said, they needed to get something out of that game. He was calm. He was collected. He was getting the ball in the middle. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't looking for the safe, easy pass. He's turning out. He's hitting the ball, the right ball all the time. I thought he was excellent, Gav. And he's come out of nowhere. I know he's been sort of mentioned in the last year or so as one, you know, he's excelling in the youth teams and he's getting training with the first team. I didn't think he was going to be this good. You know, I'd seen a couple of under 23 games, and I didn't know this was the player that we were getting. You know, when you see a player at the youth level and then they step up, and it can be night and day what he can do at that level. This fella's slotting in quite. You know, I'm not saying he's going to be our holding midfielder for the next 20 years, but this fella is very, very comfortable in them surroundings, and it's great to see. Nothing I like more than seeing young players coming in and making a good goal. You know, the other end of that is when you see, remember, Brad Smith came in, got thrown in against Chelsea, and just out of his depth, the young fella was, and he never really recovered from that. I love seeing a lad getting put in there and excelling. You know, confidence like Curtis Jones, arrogance like Harvey Elliott, and then you've got Trent, who's in a generational talent, and then you've got lads like Tyler Martin who can come in and can can stake a claim, you know, to be a genuine option in games, which is, you know, brilliant to have, brilliant to see.
Well, the thing about Tyler Martin is we've seen him in League Cup games, and you know, you can take stuff from that or you can't. It depends on where you want to look at it. But he plays against Porto, doesn't he? Doesn't he play against Porto?
Yeah, he does play against Porto. Yeah, he does in the last game, yeah.
And he plays there tonight. He plays another game. Is there a league game he plays as well?
He does. He comes on, doesn't he? Let me check.
Just 10 minutes at home to Arsenal, maybe? Something like that. But anyway, what I've noticed in him since the start...
Yeah, it is Arsenal. Yeah, he comes on against Arsenal, yeah.
Yeah, particularly tonight. His head's on a swivel, Keith.
Yeah.
And, you know...
100%.
You know, like, if you watch Ox tonight, Ox, good on the ball, moves it well. Couple of loose touches, doesn't matter, because he was targeting Kessie, where he was like, I'm going to take you on every chance I get, and if I get beyond you, you're back four in trouble, because I've Mo Salah one way, I've Mane the other, and Divock Origi's smoking up front, and he might turn up and do something, right? And you know, Minamino, very neat and tidy, linked well with Tsimikas and stuff like that, and Mane. But if you go back and watch the game, and you might even notice to yourself during it, his head's on a swivel, and
all the time.
If you said to me, what's his outstanding attribute? He's not huge physically. Doesn't look like he's an awful lot of pace. Doesn't seem to run with the ball a lot. But if he sees a picture around him every time he's getting the ball, he's a step ahead, and he doesn't need massive pace. He doesn't need massive power. He just needs to be position his body correctly, take the ball at the right angle, and then move where he needs to move. And he will always have a chance to hit a pass. And he was just so cool in what he done. I was so impressed with him, because
spot on, yeah. The
even
swivel
even
thing
when
is important. He's always scanning,
yeah,
he's always
that's
looking
it.
around, and he
That's it.
always knows.
Yeah.
Was a Porto at Arsenal when he sets up Mo, when he gets the ball deep in his own half and just
Salah.
hits one like a Xabi Alonso type pass,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because he knows what's going on around him. Do you know what I mean? He's always looking, and that's very rare in a young player like that, to see that, especially when they get thrown in, that he has that awareness and that confidence. That's one of the hardest things that you can teach into a young player, and he seems to have it in spades. It's
He
great.
does, and before we move on from him, neat and tidy, don't get me wrong, took the ball no problem off the back four, even under
Yeah.
a little bit of pressure and knew where. And again, looking where he is, and a lot of people would say, a lot of footballers doing that. A lot of footballers will stand side onto the ball so they can see what it is, but he's not. He's looking and going, give it to me.
Yeah.
But there was one in the first half where the ball was played into the middle. It's not the best pitch at the San Siro. It never has
Oh,
been.
Jesus
Right?
Christ.
The ball is
Oh,
played from Williams into him, and you can see him. He's looking, and he takes a touch. It bobbles up and it goes up in the air, and I'm thinking this is where they'll pounce him. And he just takes a small step to his right, positions his body, and flicks it with the outside of his boot. It's very simple. Back to Nat Phillips, and then he just moves across. It goes to Kanate. He takes it back and he moves it to Simicast. And I know that sounds very, very simple, but for a young player coming in, anchoring a midfield in the Champions League, regardless of who it's against, I was very, very impressed with him, I have to say. And long may it continue. And you know what? There's League Cup quarterfinals coming up soon, and I hope he gets a game. And you have the FA Cup in the new year. And even if he's called on in the league for 15, 20 minutes to keep him going, I'm all for it.
yeah. Well, before we move on from Gav, I'm just looking at some of his stats. You know the way we're big stats geeks on these shows. So he had 52 touches of the ball, right? 38 accurate passes, 84.4% percentage rate, which is all well and good. He attempted 8 long passes and hit 7 of them. That's quite good for a young fella going in there. Dribble attempts, he won successful. Ground duels, he went in for 4-1-2. He lost possession a few times, but I think that's from trying to just, he's trying to move the ball. And for a young lad, I look at this and I'm thinking, like, 3 interceptions he had as well. He was constantly trying to snuff out the trouble. And I'm not comparing him with Fabinho, but it looks like he's learning an awful lot from Fabinho. You know what I mean? Yeah. That he's learning to try and snuff out the danger before it gets anywhere, which is brilliant.
But doesn't this come back to players that they don't loan out seem to progress, are not a rapid rate, but when you see them actually come into the team, they're at a level that you don't expect. Like you said earlier, I didn't expect this from him. It's a bit like Kevin Kelleher. Stays at the club, doesn't go on loan, and you can see he's like a prototype of Alisson, the way he plays. Now, I'm not saying he's as good as Alisson, but everything he's trying to do is similar. Curtis Jones doesn't go out on loan, stays, and you can see the development in him over a fairly quick period of time for me into what he's become, and he's out injured at the moment. And I can't wait for them all to be back, because with a team flying like this, if they can keep it up and get these players back, and these players coming back are absolutely hell bent on getting back in the side. It only pushes the people that are in there anyway.
Yeah,
that sort 100%. Of way. We do.
But you look at. Sorry, before we move off again, right? If you look at the likes of Tyler Morton for staying around the squad and developing, last season you probably have Leighton Clarkson ahead of him in the pecking order, and Leighton Clarkson never really gets into that and goes out on loan.
Yeah,
and he might have a good loan. I haven't really been tracking how he's been doing on loan, but since he's gone out on loan, Tyler Morton has stepped in and is getting games at the San Siro where he's making an impact. They can all come on, like the 2 boys came on at the end and got a couple of minutes token at the end. This fella is playing 90 and having an impact. So, fair play to him.
And look, if he has it and he's willing to bulk himself up a bit, because Klopp has clearly said that he needs it. But if he's willing to do it, he has the manager that'll go, I'll play you, no problem. You know what I mean? And I'm just delighted that he's done so well. Klopp tonight says what the boys did tonight, I couldn't be more proud, and every right to say that, because the amount of different switchings of positions for players as subs went off and subs came on, and they just went, I'm like Oxlade Chamberlain went from here to there. I'm playing up front, okay, grand. Nico Williams, I'm playing right wing now, no problem. It just kept going. It really, really did. Red Steve wants Kev to keep feeding us with the quotes. Kev, if you have any more quotes, throw them in there. And because Red Steve now runs this channel, I'll have to do what he says and put them up on the screen.
It's Red Steve's world. We just all live in it.
Red Steve in the world, this is called now. But going to the defence, you said earlier, Nico Williams gets a lot of stick. Kanate, I thought was ropey against Porto, going to be honest. Tsimikas has been very good. Phillips is the first time we've really seen him this season. And we can see it the first one. And a few people are throwing a little bit at Minamino at the front post. I think Minamino doesn't expect the guy to miss it. And put his leg up the block, and then when he sees it going through, is nearly afraid to touch it in case he puts it in his own net. And Alisson just palms it out and they score. But I wasn't even worried at that stage, Keith, because they were showing nothing, absolutely nothing.
I agree. You know, it was a game where they should have been threatening. You know, the situation they were in compared to the situation we were in and the team we put out there, a proper team there would have smelt blood and would have gone for the jugular and said, look, this is an inexperienced back four. I know they've got an experienced goalie behind that, but this back four is inexperienced. We have to be targeting Nico Williams. We have to be targeting Nat Phillips. We have to be targeting Kanate, you know, and they didn't. They offered nothing. I thought Milan were dreadful tonight. And, you know, there's some tricky players in there. Brahim Diaz is a good player. Is getting a lot of plaudits. Didn't see him. Sandro Tonali had a few nice moments on the ball, but
Kessie was awful.
Kessie was so erratic, you know.
Awful.
He's one that we're linked with, and oh, Jesus, I hope we don't. I know he's free, but that's free too much as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't look like he's got the composure maybe to play in their type of thing. I think he could be good somewhere else, but not for us now. Wouldn't be having him. I thought he was brilliant. I thought we were picking at him. I thought Ox and Minamino were trying to get around him as much as they could to get the ball, because they know he's loosey-goosey with it. He's always letting little ones slip away from him, and there's always a ball there to be won.
Yeah, Ox literally faced him up every time he could. Every time he could, he faced him up and went, okay, let's have you. And he went by him at ease, you know, the sort of way. He actually, I think it's Kessie he goes by for the goal. He's in the inside right channel, drifts past him, hits a shot, keeper's poor for me. It's actually hard. It's actually harder to push it where he pushes it than actually push it back out into the middle of the box.
He loves a push, doesn't he? He loves a ridiculous push.
He does, and you know what? But it's a brilliant finish from Salah.
Yeah, it's a great finish, because you have to be switched on there, Gav. You know, like the shot comes in, the keeper palms it, but the Milan defenders are sleeping, and Salah is in there like a lie. And it's the sign of a player who's got ice in his veins at the moment, who, you know, he knows his standing in the world. We saw his reaction when he was told he was 7th in the Ballon d'Or vote, and he's laughing at it. He knows where he is in the world ranking, and he knew that ball falls to him, and he smacks it in, and there's never a doubt. You know, once you see him running onto that.
Just bash it in.
But even as fans now, you know, there was a period where Salah is missing a lot of them, or he's snatching at things like that, but he just went in, and you just had that feeling this is going in, because the pattern of the game was going that I wasn't worried. You know, I knew that it was going to happen, and I knew Salah wasn't playing like a fella who was desperate to just get a goal.
He was so at what he was doing, wasn't he?
And knowing that, you know, he wasn't going to get the 90, do you know what I mean? He was only going to get.
They were terrified of him, Keith. They were standing 5 yards up every time he got it.
Yeah,
with his back to goal on the halfway line, like it was mad.
He got his chance and he took it, and it was great to see, you know. But the keeper is poor on that, and we'll come on to him again in a minute. But yeah, I thought he was, you know, it's just a difference, isn't it, from what they were offering and what we were offering. We penetrated with the shot, but Salah switched on. He's waiting for that to drop, and he's in like a light. And they have a 40-year-old at the other end. You know what I mean? Like, you're joking me.
Well, Ox went at Kessie a loss, as Arg. He says, or Arg, whatever way you want to call it. The thing with Ox is he just offers something different. We don't have midfield players bounce off him, and he was very good tonight. Good turns, getting around his feet, going past players, committing players. He was really, really good. And Mo Salah with that goal has 20 goals for the season. He's the first player since Ian Rush to score 20 plus goals 5 seasons in a row.
It's fucking outrageous what this fella is doing.
Is there a conversation to have that he's the best player that's ever played with Liverpool?
I'm starting to come around to that now. I think there's all these arguments are, you know, longevity. Stevie G is there for years. Kenny is winning everything and then becomes a manager, and you know, you've all these little arguments. But I think times change, and what he's doing for Liverpool in this period of time consistently to get us where we are now I think there's an argument that he's our greatest ever player. And it's mad that I'm saying that.
I think we're gonna have to have a serious argument on this podcast about it. I was into the Anfield Wrap last week, and it was what game was it after? Who do we beat 4-0? The Everton game.
Pick a team. We've got loads of them.
And Ian Salmon on the Anfield Wrap was saying, "Look, I'm watching Liverpool since I think he said the mid-70s, and he said I've seen Kenny, I've seen Stevie, I've seen Souness, he's seen if you look at Torres, Barnes, Suarez, and he genuinely turned around and said, but I think there's an argument now to say that this is the best player we've ever seen at Liverpool." And I was thinking about it earlier, and I think he's the best player of this generation. Now, I don't know how long a generation lasts, because I think when you have an argument over the best players ever played with Liverpool, it usually whittles itself down to Steven Gerrard or Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah.
And then you have to put Mo Salah up against them, and then you have to look at the teams they all played in and the impacts they had. But he is relentless. Yeah. He is relentless. Like Gerrard was fucking brilliant. Don't get me wrong. He was head and shoulders above anything this club has seen for 25 years. Head and shoulders above. But there was times when he was out of form, injury. Salah doesn't miss a game. And you talk about longevity, and you go, Gerrard was there for 18 years or whatever, or 17 years. And you go, yeah, fine. But Salah's not how many games he missed through injury in 5 years?
Yeah.
So there is an argument to be had, and there's different. I suppose there's different angles you can come at it, but
see, the longevity argument is a mad one, because like Graham Souness is one of our greatest ever players, and Graham Souness signs in 78 and leaves in 84. Do you know what I mean? So he's only there for 6 years.
Yeah.
So people think that the likes of Souness is there for 10, 12 years, and he's not. So it's mad how we perceive these things. Like Salah, this is his fourth season, and it's just been, 4 seasons of playing 20 goals, and
fifth season.
He's already on 20 now. Do you know what I mean? It's phenomenal what he's doing. Ian Rush scored a lot of goals in the dominant team. You know what I mean? Ian Rush comes into a Liverpool team that's already the dominant team. I know Villa and Forest are winning in Europe back then, but Liverpool had a dominant team in the 70s and the 80s. And it's maybe easier to come in and sort of do that. Mo Salah's coming into a team that hadn't won the league in 30 years, and he's putting this team on his back. And there's a lot of good players in that team, I know, but undoubtedly,
I think there is a discussion to be had on it, and maybe not now, because the 20 goals on the 7th day of December is fucking mad. You know what I mean?
Let's talk again in May and see where he's at.
Yeah, exactly. And he's done 44 in 17-18. I expect him to go beyond that.
Yeah, I didn't think he would. I didn't think he would. Now I'm no doubt about it.
I think we've 5 or 6 games before the end of this year. I think he'll play. If we have 6, he'll play in 5. I don't know about the League Cup. And genuinely, he could literally, for me, he will be for me going into January with between 25 and 30 goals in all competitions, with half a season left.
Yeah,
half a season left. Because if they go 3 more rounds in the Champions League, that's the same amount he's played in the Champions League. He doesn't bother with the League Cup, I don't think. And there'll be 18 league games left. Well, probably about 16 left, but it's unbelievable.
And there'll be games when he will marmalade teams, and he will be getting 2s and 3s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'm just going on a 1 goal per game basis. 29 goals or assists in 21 games. It's unbelievable. But look, it's 1-1. It's 1-1 at half time, and Liverpool, for me, are in control. But just before we get on to the winning goal, because we won't keep it people all night here, but we will if you want to. But the back four. Let's talk about the back four. And I want to touch on a couple of individuals after that. But you said Nico Williams gets an awful lot of... Well, he did. He used to get an awful lot of abuse. And a lot of criticism. Abuse is the wrong word. Criticism.
Oh, he got a fair bit of abuse.
Yeah, he did. But it's criticism.
And it's probably social media, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he did get it now.
It's probably a lack of trust in him. And I hold my hands up. I wouldn't tell you 6 months ago the huge amount of trust in Nico Williams to be a backup. And I'm not saying tonight is a watershed from him. I'm not taking on just tonight, but watching him tonight looked more assured, less rushed on the ball, took that extra second if he needed to. And, he misplaces a few. Absolutely, he misplaces a few. But he actually misplaces one in the run up to their corner, which leads to the goal, I think, off the right wing. But overall, he's gone to the San Siro with Nat Phillips beside him. He's gone with Tyler Morton in front of him and an inexperienced midfield as a tree. He's gone there. And he's gone with not a makeshift forward line, but he's gone there with one of those teams where you go, this can go either way, could be off it. And no issue with him tonight whatsoever, Keith.
I think he's been actually okay this season in the games he's appeared in. You know, I think last year he was getting sort of lashed out, and he's not Trent. He's not Trent. Last year was a blatant annus horribilis. Let's be honest. Nobody really was happy last season. He goes away, he does well for his country, which is a big deal. Do you know what I mean? We may not be fans of international football, but he goes off and plays well for Wales when he gets a game, scores goals for them. So he's gaining confidence all the time. Now, he did get a lot of abuse from fans. I'd be like you, Gav. I wouldn't have been the biggest. I would have thought maybe Nico has to move on because he's not really at the level that we need, that we can, on Tsimikas, we can drop Tsimikas in for Robertson and there's no issues there. And people were questioning Robertson then coming back in, which is a bit fucking mad. But we don't have that with Trent and Nico because he's just a different player. When you go in, he's more of an orthodox fullback, but he's quite attacking. But he's not Trent because he's not blading spraying 60-yard diagonals on a blade and cutting across them and bending them into the run of the other fullback. And that's what he's being held against.
Hero of Kvach, or I don't know what that is. He says Nico is a proper player, will definitely improve and can play anywhere. And there is, I'm just reading out a couple. Arch says, I think Nico's fine for me. He's still physically a bit too weak, but he's good cover for now. Do you know what the thing is? The comparison with Trent is ridiculous. The comparison from anyone with Trent is ridiculous. And exactly. You hear these people going, the Trent's not defensively good. Will you stop it? You know what I mean? Watch what he does and just appreciate him. Do you know what I did with him after watching tonight? Do you know what I did with Nico Williams after watching tonight? I'd literally make him live with James Milner. And I'll tell you why. Because Nico Williams is a very good football brain for me. Yeah. He can see a pass. He likes to bounce passes off players, little 1-2s or whatever it might be. He's not the quickest in the world, but he's not slow. He looks okay physically to me, and he will grow into that. But when you watch James Milner come in and play at right back, it's different to Trent, and it has to be. But if you watch it, it's full-blooded. Doesn't give the ball away, moves up and down the pitch in a nice, easy manner, and when he gets into good positions, he picks the right passes, he moves, he makes space, he gets in behind. A bit like what James Milner used to do when he was at City, when he played as a midfielder, or right midfielder. I'd literally make James Milner his carer for the next year. That's what I would do.
Not bad.
That's what I do. And I'd literally say, I want you to watch how he plays, because if he studies James Milner, even in the way he plays in midfield, he can bring that into his full-back game and not concern himself with trying to be Trent. I think where Nico falls down is where he tries something cute or he tries something over-ambitious. If he sticks to what he's good at, it becomes another option for Liverpool.
It does, yeah. And look, he's a young lad. He's taking a lot of stick. There's Paul Smith saying Nico isn't good enough even as cover for Trent. Well, Paul, I think that's a bit harsh because I think he's a young lad and he's learning, and I think he's improving. I genuinely think he's getting better. Now, whether he is at that required level for Liverpool, I don't know. But how much are you going to spend to get someone to sit behind Trent? Do you know, it's a hard one to fill, and I just think,
and it is sitting behind him because this guy is Liverpool's fullback for the next 10 years.
Exactly. And look at Tsimikas on the other side with Robbo. Robbo picks up a knock, Tsimikas comes in and does great, and as soon as Robbo's able to blade and move again, Klopp is saying, yeah, you've done great there. Publicly, you've done great there. But he's back in as soon as he's fit. Well, you're getting that 10 by 10 on the other side. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really, really hard area to fill. And I'm starting to come around to him. I'm starting to warm to the idea of Nico coming in. I think what happens as well is they have to be used wisely. Last season, and Klopp played him against Brighton, and he put him left back.
No, the season we won the league.
The season before, was it? Yeah, he put him at left back, and he got absolutely scorched out by, was it Tariq Lamptey?
Yeah, Tariq Lamptey. I had him all day, yeah.
Absolute put him on toast for the whole game, and he got a lot of stick for it. He wasn't, I know he can play on the left, he's done it at times, but he was up against an absolute speed merchant, and he got sort of punished that night, and people are too quick to jump on somebody's you know, what they can't do instead of focusing on what they can do and maybe where they can improve. And I just think the young fella is, I see improvements, and while he may not ever be a top player for us, I think he's certainly at this moment in time capable to get in the odd game or an odd sub appearance if we're running away in a game. Bring him on for Trent and just ease him in, because you can't expect to drop these fellas in and, you know, in case of an emergency, and expect them to be, you know, expect him to be Trent or expect Nat Phillips to be Virgil.
Him.
You know,
you have to take him. You have to take what you get from, and you have to adjust. It's a bit like if you say we're playing, you know, Salah on the right wing this week, but next week Salah's injured, so we're going to play I don't know, Jota there, right? Jota's not going to burn you for pace down the side, cut in on his left and put it in the top corner like Salah does. You have to kind of adjust. That's just what it is. You can't get like for like players. You know, very rarely you can get absolute like for like players to fill positions. Arj agrees with me. He's have Millie over Nico as cover, but Nico can develop to be a good player. I still don't think he's at the level for Liverpool, but who knows what he could develop into. That's very more than fair for me. But and if I'm picking in a big game next week where Trent's not available, I am putting Milner there. Someone mentioned Joe Gomez. No way. Under no circumstances should Joe Gomez be a right back for Liverpool. I've gone through this loads of times. But I would pick Milner, but just give him that 6 months to learn. You know, while Milner's still at the club. I don't know if Milner will go for another year or will he take up a coaching role or what it might be. But spend the time watching James Milner, whether it's at right back or whether it's in midfield, because I think he's very similar to James Milner in the way he moves, the way he's aggressive, and the kind of passing range he has and stuff like that. I just think it'd be a good show. But he was very good. Nat Phillips highlighted the game for me. He's doing Cruyff turns in the middle of the box with 14 with the AC Milan squad and their supporters around him, and very good on for me.
Sending lads to the shop all over the place there, wasn't
down
it?
For smokes and
the Gazzetta dello Sport, down for the Gazzetta dello Sport.
Yeah.
He was great. You know, I'm a huge fan of Nat Phillips, Gav, and Klopp came out during the week and he's saying, you know, look, we'll let Nat move on because he needs game time. You know, it's one of the best stories of the last few years for me is Nat Phillips getting into that team and doing what he done, and now having a swan song, if it is to be a sort of swan song.
Is he letting him go?
Well, he came out the other day and he was sort of alluding to the fact that, you know, he doesn't want to hold him back, so he can't get him game time here.
Signed a long-term deal, though.
Yeah, but he needed to keep him, he said, as the fifth choice just in case of an emergency. And I think he's more or less saying, look, we haven't touched fucking wood. Do
you think he sells him after signing that deal?
Yeah, I think they do. I think that it was sounding a bit that way, you know. But
so basically, there's a long-term deal, but only if we get X amount, and only if
it could be protecting value or something, you know. Yeah, it could be. I don't know, you know. It'd be interesting to see what he does. He was brilliant. He's a certain type of defender, and I said this last season when he was doing well for us. You know, I think he could walk into a number of Premier League teams that play in that style. Do you know what I mean? He's better than that Newcastle have at the back. Yeah. I think he could get a game up. The likes of Burnley, you know what I mean? I think there's certain teams that play that want a defender. Oh, he's better than the shite they have. Do you know what I mean? I think he's better than what United have. Do you know? And that's being genuine. I don't think Harry Maguire does too much more than what Nat Phillips does. If you took the hype and the price tags away from them, like they're not Victor Lindelof, Eric Boy. You know, I think he's a very underrated player, but the way we play football, I suppose, is different, and the way the likes of Man City play football. And I just don't think that he probably will get many opportunities here, but I would love to see him stay. I'd love to see him in the Carling Cup teams. He hasn't even been in them, you know what I mean? He hasn't even been in them teams. I think he's got a future ahead of him in the Premier League.
I wouldn't sell him.
I'd keep him. I love him.
I wouldn't sell anybody in January, because knowing their luck, you'd sell him on the 31st of January, and Van Dijk or Kanate or Gomez or one of them would hit the deck, Matip. You know, and he'd be out for 3 months, and then someone else will follow suit. Paul reckons he's a Brighton centre back written all over him, and
He's better on the ball than a lot of people give him credit for as well.
Yeah,
You know,
Declan says his
he's not
contract was
massive.
up in the summer coming, so just avoid losing him for free. Obviously, he signed they said a long-term deal, didn't they? But it could have been a case where, listen, it's a long-term deal, but if we get X amount of an offer, we can accept it. And if it's a certain standard of club, i.e. top Premier League club, you can go and talk to them, sort of way. So it's
I wouldn't say they're
beneficial.
actively going around the bleeding championship trying to hawk him out.
No.
Because he showed tonight, Gav. Last season, he showed when the chips were down and we were backs against the wall. He came in. It was a shit show, and he stabilised things. Tonight, right, the pressure was off in a way for us. But we as we touched on there, Milan needed to get something out of that game. He's up against a notorious flat track bully, one of the most notorious flat track bullies in the game, and he fucking had him on toast all night.
Yeah,
I thought he wasn't bothered.
I thought he was very good. And moving on to Konate though,
brilliant.
His physicality was huge tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah,
even if they got in behind, he just leaned on people. He puffed Zlatan away a couple of times. He was out on the sideline hitting fellas, and he was fairly faultless, I thought, tonight.
Yeah, there was at the very start of the game, he heads one and it goes to a Milan player, it goes loose. I think Nico leaves him short for Nico Williams, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, right, Jesus Christ, is Konate going to have one of these games where he takes a while? I thought he was brilliant. Something you touched on there, Gav, his recovery pace is, it's Joe Gomez type of pace, maybe not as fast as Joe Gomez in his prime, but with the sort of physicality on top of that. Gomez is a big lad. I think people think he's smaller than he actually is. This fella is a fucking unit. This fella is a beast. And
and he was good.
He run.
He was good at Old Trafford. I thought he was a bit ropey at home against Brighton. I'm going to be honest.
He was.
I thought he was a bit ropey against Porto. But this is going to happen.
Improved.
This is going to happen, and it depends who you're playing beside. But the big thing for me tonight is he's always looked better with Van Dijk beside him, right? Despite Brighton, where I think they were all over the shop for me a bit.
I thought Van Dijk was poor that day.
Yeah, as well, Van Dijk doesn't play against Porto from what I can remember, right? I think Matip does play that night, but tonight he's with Nat Phillips, and I couldn't work out which one was leading the team. What I mean was leading the defence and talking to the fullbacks, because they both seemed to do it, and that was the big standout for me. Because look, he's physically impressive. He wins a lot in the air. He's good along the ground. He's good with the ball. He recovers well. He leans on fellas. He kicks it off them and gets throw-ins. He's done it all tonight. But the big thing for me was he had a partner beside him that had next to no first-team football this season. And between them, they held a brilliant high line that a lot of people have commented on tonight, because the high line was great. Loads of people asking where Jamie is, because Jamie's in the chat there. And he should be back on shows soon. He says he's been very busy and he's been stocking up on... What, Baileys? He's litres of Baileys, apparently.
Is that the new thing, Jay?
That's the new thing, Baileys. It's a bit sickening after a bottle of it.
I love a bottle of Baileys.
It's a bit sickening.
I remember being 16. I remember being 16, right, going into town, into a nightclub, Billy Big Balls, had a head of hair and all back then, and a little dodgy goat, looked
still have
older than it was. Still have it. Don't have the hair. And me and my mate went in, and we were in McGrath's. You remember McGrath's?
McGrath's Street.
Yeah, awful place, right?
Yeah, they're desperate.
Awful. So we ended up in there, and we were, our first night in a nightclub. What we have to drink, we'd had a few cans before we went out and had a couple of points. What we had, 2 Baileys. Should have seen the state of us in this bleeding nightclub drinking 2 glasses of Baileys. We stood out like 2 absolute muppets. Yeah. The Baileys went down a tree.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Remember, didn't somebody do a version of Baileys then? One of the supermarkets done a version of Baileys, I think.
They all do their own.
Oh, it's as nice as Baileys. No, it was called Irish Nights or something. It was called. Yeah, it wasn't as good as Baileys. But if Jamie wants to come on tomorrow night on the midweek fix, let me know, Jay, and you can jump on. Ronaldinho Goat says super chat from him. He says Genie was holding us back. Thoughts? Nah. Genie done a brilliant job for Liverpool and just moved on because of circumstance. He didn't hold us back. No way.
Moved on, but on that point, I'm starting to see when Thiago's getting more into it. Jamie might want to put that Bailey's down now. We're going to talk about Thiago for a second. When Thiago's coming more used to playing, and he's getting used to playing with Fabinho and Henderson, and you can see the way he's progressing. I think that the narrative that he slowed us down is absolute shite. I think he's actually so much more progressive than what Gini was. And while Gini was dependable and was carrying the ball and was, in my opinion, the best ball carrying midfielder in Europe last season and the year before, for a long time, I actually think that while the Gini didn't hold us back at all, I think we're much more progressive with Thiago, which is what we all expected. And anyway, but we're only starting to see it now. We didn't see it last year. We lost Gini in the summer, and I think we're only starting to see.
Is that to suit the players we have, though? Because Wijnaldum is good going forward, don't get me wrong, but we're looking to get a really creative player in that right-hand side of midfield when we play. And we're looking for the guy that's playing just ahead of Fabinho on the left of that midfield tree to be a bit of a dictator of the game. And I wouldn't call Gini Wijnaldum a dictator of a game. I think he's very good impact on the game.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put him as me forward midfielder to be a creative part of it. Although when he plays for Holland, he scores a lot of goals getting in the box. But I don't know what his assist
player, wasn't he? Such a dependable player.
Yeah, and he done a job. Whereas if Gini Wijnaldum was in the squad now, you probably look at him and go, he's probably looking to play the 6 because what we're looking for from the left hand side and the right hand side of those two midfielders just doesn't quite suit him. I'd still have him at the club if he gave me the opportunity, but it didn't happen. It's old news and we move on from it. Tsimikas was really good, but Tsimikas is always good, so we leave him. But then Divock decides I'm having a bit of this. Terrible from Milan.
Yeah.
Sadio robs him, hits a good shot, but what is the keeper?
The first one was bad. This is one of the worst things you'll ever see.
Over the bar.
Yeah, but
put your two hands behind it and just pat it down.
Slap. Yeah. One hand slap into the 12-yard area where there's a free fella that's 6'3", just to tap one back in with the head. Like, it was a mad move by Magnon, but I think he looked dodgy, and it proved to be. But Divock, we all know, is a very stringy player. It's his first goal since the Champions League final. I know he hasn't played that many games in the Champions League since then, but he's the type of player that he is. He's such an enigmatic character that
it's a great header.
It's a great header. It has to be. I thought he was excellent tonight.
I thought the first 15. I thought he was looking at the defender too much when he wanted to get into a physical battle with him, and the defender was just nipping around and getting it off him. And then he started to get into it, and he kind of pushed out left a bit. Then towards the end of the first half, Mane came into the middle, and he kind of got more into the game. Then he has a good snapshot in the box towards the end of the first half.
The quick feet when he drags
quick feet and hits it with his left. And that's his first goal in the Champions League, outside of 2 in the semi-final against Barcelona and 1 in the Champions League final, which is fucking mad. But listen, he just doesn't give a shit. I keep telling you.
Doesn't care.
As Brenzy told us the other day, and I keep telling you, he scores against Newcastle, doesn't care. Scores against Everton in the 96th minute and tries to run the ball back to the halfway line because Brenzy is convinced that he thought it was an equaliser he'd scored, and he scores in the Champions League semi-final twice. Yeah, grand. And then scores in the Champions League final as if he'd scored the 7th goal in a pre-season against St. Pat's. So that's what he is. But again, he comes on, he gets a start, and he scores.
Of course he does. And I don't think he usually impacts when he starts. That's the thing. I think he's much better coming on as a sub. I think I agree with you that he started off a bit sluggish and wasn't getting in the game, but I thought he grew into it as it came along. And I think the thing with Divock is he's so laid back that he doesn't impose himself. Liverpool do the pressing and the high line, and Divock never looks like he's doing that. But I think his stats say that he actually does do it. It just doesn't look that way. He's a mad old player.
It is a mad. He's aesthetically, to watch him as a centre forward, it's a bit mad because of his physique and what you would expect from him. There's something different. But I think it's a little kick up the arse from, because Klopp just moves Mane into the middle for 10 minutes as if to say, you go in there and hold the ball up as he should be, and I'm going to put him out on the left, and he's not going to really like it. And then come to start the second half, I'll put him back in the middle, and he'll know if he doesn't fucking do it, I'll bring him back out on the left. And he scores. He scores off a rebound, off a Mane shot. But
it's never in doubt then, is it? I mean, that goes in, that's...
No. They look ragged then. A little bit better quality for us in the second half, and we could have been in on them. Keita comes on. He's back, which is good to see. Tyler Morton, as you said, gets the 90. Fabinho comes on. Joe Gomez comes in and gets whatever amount of minutes he gets. And
they come on at 65.
Yeah, and then he brings 2 young lads on at the death. But no, it wasn't in doubt for me. And Milan, I thought were poor. I thought their lack of ambition, and I think this is this something that's just going through teams to come to face Liverpool, regardless of what we put out on the pitch. There's a bit of fear there, and they're a little bit afraid to overcome it. Maybe it is that, or maybe they just don't have the quality. Maybe it's just one of those things, because a few people in the chat tonight have said, like, these boys are top of the Serie A, like, what the fuck is going on? But overall, it's a great result. We've done a lot of rotation. We leave. I think we leave Van Dijk,
Henderson, Jota, yeah. And Milner suspended. He doesn't go.
That they've left at home. Thiago.
Thiago, yeah.
And they're all left at home. The likes of Tyler Morton gets a run, and the players that you kind of go, oh, he's in the starting lineup. They all come off fairly early. Yeah. And Salah knows he's coming on the hour, off on the hour, or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Get your goal and you're coming off. Do you know what I mean? We don't want this to be chasing a goal, and if you start chasing it, you start snatching, you start stretching, you can do an injury. You know what I mean? So get your goal and get that boxed off. And he got it, and it was easy peasy.
Head of Communications, Red Steve, says 200 likes and the lads will talk Baileys until midnight. And you'll be doing well, because we've about 3 minutes left. So if you can find me 54 likes in the next 3 minutes, fair play to you, Red Steve. But 147 likes, 320 watching, which is great crack, because genuinely, we earlier in the season we had a full-time show with the lads from Red Sea who done a great job. We decided that we're actually cutting down on shows, because we're just so fucking busy. And I got asked, please do this, will you do that, and I said, right, I'll do it, but I'm only doing 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and as many as I can. I'm not guaranteeing you every game, but it's absolutely flying since we started this last week. I've done one on my own, I've done with Chris, this time with Keith, and it's just a case of coming on, and whoever's available, jump on, or I'll do it on my own. Doesn't really bother me. We are, I promise, trying to get some listeners onto the show in the near future. But if you are watching, please, lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com, and just put full-time Reds as the heading, and I'll get a test done on you to see if your sound and your stuff is all sorted. And if you're listening on the audio, do the same. You can email us, because if you're listening on audio, you might want to come on live. That's absolutely cool. And also, if you're listening on audio, please hit the review on your podcast app and give us a 5-star review, because that helps spread the word. And like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Start giving the reviews, because I'm going to start looking at the reviews now to see if there's any there. And will we give away some sort of prize, will we, if you start giving us reviews? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right, we'll give something away. Bottle of Baileys.
Jamie will donate that.
Luke O'Shea loves all the shows. Good stuff. Paul is getting aggressive. He says 329 watching. Come on, just hit that fucking like button. He's not getting to 200 by the time he finished, but fair play to him. So man of the match before we go.
It's a hard one. I'm going to give it to Konate. I thought he was excellent. I thought he took even though he's the younger of the two centre-backs, I think he took the seniority and the experience, and he marshalled it. And he went up against Zlatan, and he had him in his back pocket, and I think he was just brilliant and set a nice solid base for us. So yeah, I'm giving it to Konate.
Okay. I think it's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
I think Phillips was good. Konate is a great shout. Tyler Morton is probably, for how he controlled the midfield.
Didn't even really get a shout, yeah.
I'm going to give it to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Because I think bits he done, worked hard getting back, helping out Nico Williams at times, passed it well in midfield. A couple of loose touches, but that's football. You can't have every fucking perfect touch.
He tried to be progressive all the time, and he is trying to be front-footed all the time.
The fact that he targeted what was meant to be their general in midfield, or the guy that was going to make the biggest impact in midfield, in Kessie for me, and then in turn started to commit Tonali there as well. Yeah, he gets a shot away for the first goal. I thought he was really good, and I think he deserves a man of the match. Jamie Holmes was man of the match. Martin, I think Martin was excellent, head on a swivel. I said it earlier. He was brilliant. But just, do you know what? Just in a team that was a bit of a mix and match to a point, I just liked what Oxlade-Chamberlain done and how he helped the other two in midfield. The way he walked the ball, but the way he went at them. And if you're going at them, it takes an awful lot off Tyler Morton in the middle of the park to pick up pieces and play easy. Whereas if you're not going at them and you're being a bit safe. They can rob it off you, and you can expose other players around you, like Nico Williams, like Tyler Morton, who, let's be honest, as good as they are still new enough in this side for Nico Williams, and very new in this side for Tyler Morton. And it's very easy, no matter how good Tyler Morton is, if they start getting on, if Kessie starts running at him, or Tonali starts dropping balls in behind them, or you know, it's very hard to turn it around. Even if you're that good, or you're as good as you're shown, it's just it's just one of those where I think he's very, very good. Martin, but I'm just going to edge for Oxlade-Chamberlain because I've liked what I've seen from in the last little while.
It's a great show. They're getting there. But you know what, Gav, before we finish up on Ox, I think it's great that Ox is. I think he's been excellent for a while now. I think he's having a really good season, and I think. Naby was doing that as well at the start of the season, and the two of them, we've always had these issues with the two of these boys' fitness. I don't again put the mockers on them or anything like that, but if you keep these two lads fit, they are genuine strong options that you're bringing into the team. Do you know what I mean? Two genuine good options that you're bringing in, and that for a Carling Cup team. I know we had Allison, we had Mo, we had Sadio playing tonight. Sorry, if you throw in like a Curtis Jones or a Harvey Elliott into that instead. It's a strong, the squad. If we have a fit squad, we have a good squad. We do have decent depth. Keith. We do have depth.
It's about pushing. It's about saying to like Harvey Elliott or Curtis Jones, right? Harvey Elliott maybe not so much, but Curtis Jones saying, "Yeah, you're coming back in. You're still a level above Tyler Morton, but he's going to push it." And in turn, Curtis Jones wants to push Jordan Henderson to try to get his spot, or Thiago to push his spot. And if you have your second and third choice absolutely chomping at the bit to get into a side, the one thing you're going to guarantee, because they're world-class players, is that they're going to go, you think you're getting into this fucking team ahead of me? Watch this. And then they all go for it. So then you end up with 11 lunatics on the pitch, with 9 on the bench, ready to absolutely snap into it as soon as they... It's so good for the mentality of a squad, and especially this one that's so tight. They're so tight, this squad, Keith. It's untrue for me. You don't hear anything out of them. They laugh at each other if one gets upset. They back each other to the hilt. You've seen in the derby, like players scoring, and Van Dijk running over and waving at the park end, and as if just there's everything about them. They're absolutely brilliant, and to see second or third choice players in the likes of Tyler Morton say pushing and pushing and pushing, it's only a good thing. It's not a bad thing, and you don't have to compare, and you don't have to pick sides, and you don't have to say he should leave because he's here now. And you don't 100%. Have to do that. You have to look at all these players and go, who is he pushing, and in turn, who is he pushing? And if he's pushing the very best, they're the very best for a fucking reason, and they'll show exactly. it. So it's just brilliant at the moment as a Liverpool fan. A lot of people are going to be nervous going into the weekend. Gerrard turning up with Villa, but trust me, if Liverpool put in the intensity that they can put in, nobody is touching them. I promise you that. Nobody is touching them. And that's not me with the Baileys talking. I promise you that. It's genuine. If we have that sort of commitment and that sort of intensity that we've shown over the last couple of weeks, forget it. You can try as much as you want. You can take as many risks as you want. You can be as defensive as you want. We will find a way. Genuinely, that's what I feel at the moment. Now, we could all go tits up on Saturday. We lose 2-1 to a last-minute goal, and that's how life works. But what can you do? Kevin Sullivan says 11 more likes needed. You're not getting there, but we're out of here. Keith's up early in the morning, night to go and edit shows and get stuff ready for tomorrow. So that's how it goes. But 190 likes, over 320 watching, which is great. And if you like this full-time Reds, let us know. Leave comments afterwards in the comments after the show. Leave stuff there. Leave feedback. Do you like the setup? Do you like how it looks? If you do, great. If you don't, tell us why. We'll try to change a few bits around. Don't tell me to make that text bigger, because I can't. I genuinely can't.
Yeah, if you want to get loads, ask me to make it bigger.
Yeah, I know. I have done. Red Steve will sort them out. He'll issue a statement on their behalf at some stage. But that is it. That has been the Full-Time Reds. Keith, thanks a million for joining me. I've really enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
G10 says, thanks lads, great show again. Yeah, listen, and I'm off to edit this, so the people that listen on Brandon Cheese says, quick public warning here. He says, warning, if you get a link to the Ed Sheeran and Elton John Christmas song, don't open it, as it's a link to the Ed Sheeran and Elton John Christmas song. So there you go, public warning for everybody out there. Lots of
people, it's a nice fact there. With the same number of points in the Champions League as the Ev have in the Premier League.
There you go. 18.
Easy peasy.
For 18. Loads to come. Tomorrow night is the midweek fix. Thursday night we're off, but we are on the Man on Football show talking about the collapse of Barcelona over the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Friday is Sports Unplugged. Saturday I'll be back with your full-time Reds, and Sunday we will also be back with the Fatback 4. That's the rest of the week. Have a good one. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.